Well, good afternoon and welcome. And I'm here to talk about coaching and to explain to you what coaching is all about. Many people don't actually understand quite what coaching is, which isn't surprising actually, because it's a lot of things. It's a lot of different things. So I'm going to give you a brief history lesson first. The word coaching started from a Hungarian town in the 1500s. It involved a wagon. It was a particular type of wagon. And it's a word that then got into the French language, coche, meaning a wagon. It was something that took things from A to B. And because it took things from A to B, in 1860, it became a term at Oxford University for a tutor. A tutor became a coach. A coach took people from A to B. It took students through their exams. Okay? We all also know a coach as something pulled by four horses that rushed around the country taking the mail, taking people from A to B. So it's all about transport. And that's really where the word came from, and it then got introduced into the sporting area, and we've all heard of sporting coaches. And of course, in the last 24 hours, we've heard of the senior coaches for the Lionesses, and particularly because they won against the USA. We've heard about it for the Roses as well, the Red Roses, who demolished Fiji this morning. It was excellent. But the senior coaches are all there. And coaching in this area is more about the technical aspects of taking people from where they are to where they want to be, and providing them with the expertise, if you like, to cover what they're doing. This then got taken from the sporting area into business. John Whitmore was instrumental in this some time ago in the 60s, and he thought, well, if my tennis coach can improve my mind to make me a better person, then I can help people improve their minds to make them better business people. And that's how it became into the business world. And you will notice that I'm already now started talking about the mind aspect rather than the technical ability. And this really is where coaching has come in, and this is how it's developed. So these days it's all about the mind. Sure, there are coaches out there who are the technicians who ensure the expertise of who they're talking about, but behind every successful person, there will undoubtedly be somebody there who's working on getting the mind in the right frame to achieve. And all of the experts, whether it be tennis, whether it be rugby, whether it be business, whether it be anything, if it's all about the mind, that can be the driving force. And so therefore, I like to think of myself as a mind coach. And that is what we do. We work with people, we work with their minds in order to take them from where they are to where they want to be. And so I'll give you a definition of coaching. Now, this definition is mine. There are many definitions out there. And the one thing about coaching is it's one of those worldwide things. And everybody's got their own concept of what coaching is. But this is mine. This is mine. So we're using considered questioning and deep listening, and those are the skills that I've been taught. Coaching helps people to move themselves from where they are in their lives to where they want to be. And this is important, in a non-judgmental and adviceless way. So what is coaching not? Well, I've just already mentioned, it's not judgmental. Everybody's different. We cannot judge our clients. We cannot make assumptions about our clients. It's not stigmatic. As I've said, many people have coaches, and this is the great thing about it. And a lot of the children think, okay, I don't have to go and see a counselor. I'm worried about counselors. I can go and see a coach because everybody's got a coach. You know, my footballing hero has got a coach. And that's important to them. And so if that can be the case, I don't mind going to see a coach, because I know many people who've got coaches. Coaching is also not the answer to the life, the universe, and everything. Now, that's a great pity, because if it was, we'd all be doing it, wouldn't we? For those who will remember Douglas Adams, the answer to life, the universe, and everything was actually 42. So coaching is certainly not that. And this is where coaching differs from counseling, from mentoring, from teaching. And these are important too. And there is a place for each and every one of those. But coaching is different. So what is counseling? Well, okay, here's a National Health Service quote, and that is that it's a talking therapy that involves a trained therapist listening to you and helping you find ways to deal with the emotional issues. Okay, so it's already focusing now on emotional issues, but helping you find the answers is inferring that they're going to teach you how to do it. What is mentoring? Again, mentoring is about giving advice, and normally the more experienced giving advice to younger people. Now, this could be in schools, this could be in business, it could be in everyday life. And many of us are actually mentors. We don't know it, but many of us are mentors. And my colleague Stella is one of the best. She's an accredited mentor, which is magic. And something that many people will know, what is teaching? Well, everybody's got their own ideas as to what teaching is. But again, the Cambridge University dictionary sums it up thus, and it's about giving someone knowledge. Okay? A coach doesn't do that. A coach doesn't give someone knowledge. And a great teacher will explain the message in a number of different ways, because everybody's different in the class. Everybody learns differently. And you'll notice that I'm talking about mainstream work, but I'm bringing in the everybody thinks and learns differently, and that is important, particularly in the SEN environment. And I've put that when the timescale allows, because teachers are under a time threat, if you like. They have a class of a number of people who all think differently. They have a message to impart. They have a timescale in which to do it. Therefore, they've got to concentrate on as many people as they can, and they're going to lose people on the edges of the distribution. But a teacher will lead the learning process. That's not necessarily about just what the teacher's saying. It's about other things in life as well. But the teacher will be leading the learning process. And that's a great teacher. And a great teacher will also impart experience. It may be the teacher's experience, it may be experience that they've learned and developed from other areas. But the important thing is they impart that experience. And that is really what makes a great teacher. I can think of some great teachers. I can think in my past of teachers who are not quite as great as others. I'm ex-military. I've been trained by some wonderful people. But in the same breath, I've also met people who have not trained me, who have not tutored me, who have not mentored me quite as well as their counterparts. But I've already mentioned this, that all of us are different. All of us have differing values. All of us have different perspectives in life. And all of us have different ways of learning. And this is important, especially in the SEN environment where you're dealing with everybody. They've got a different way of learning. Now, a lot of people, they can adapt their ways of learning to take in what they're being told in everyday life, which is absolutely wonderful. But there are others who, for that, is a challenge because they are presented with information which is ready for everybody, or at least for most people. But they don't see it that way, they see it differently. And this is where coaching comes in. In mind coaching, the client is the subject matter expert. They know more about themselves than anybody else does. They may be young, it doesn't matter. They know more about them. We can assume we know what's going on. But as I said earlier, a coach is non-judgmental. We cannot assume. We have to accept that what the client understands is what it's all about. And there are times when the client may not understand themselves. And so it's a case really of working together as a team to try and identify how that client, how that student, how that pupil, how that person can learn, can develop, can go from A to B. Now that A to B process, it may not be, I want to be an astronaut. It may not be, I want to be Prime Minister. It may not be, I want to be the world's best footballer. It may be just, I don't want to be here, I want to be better than what I am at the moment. Okay, so we can define that. What do you mean by better? We can create goals. We can create small goals. We can create strategic goals. And that is a lot of the aspect behind this. We can make a plan. We can create a strategic goals. We can have mini goals on the way. It becomes a pathway towards the far focus. And the emphasis goes from teaching to learning. By giving the client, sorry, I've gone here. It derives the answers. The client makes the decisions, and this is important. The client leads the way forward. And the client remains in the driving seat. Because apart from anything else, it brings that emphasis shift, as I was saying, from teaching to learning. Let the client learn the way the client wants to learn. Let the pupil learn the way they understand about learning. And help them to learn the way that they learn, not necessarily the way that you want to teach them. And that is the important aspect. And so this is what a client's doing. A client is the coach is meeting the client on the client's wavelength. And that is the aspect. And developing rapport is one of the most important aspects of being a coach. Now, teachers develop rapport very well indeed. They are experts at it. Parents can develop rapport, but they've known the person for quite some time. But teachers especially, they are used to dealing with students, they're used to dealing with pupils of their particular genre, of their particular age group that they're dealing with. And they can develop that rapport very quickly. They know what is going to get the child to work with them. And that's effectively what a coach is doing. A coach will encourage the client to think for themselves. And this is one of the ways of getting that learning process going. If they're thinking for themselves, it becomes part of their way of life. They start thinking for themselves, they start really enjoying it because they're achieving. And that is important. And if you can get that sense of achievement, they start to feel great. They start to know that actually there is a way through. And knowledge sticks better if it is self-learnt. I'm going to bring my mother into this because I think my mother was one of the world's best coaches. She doesn't realize that because she came from an era when coaching didn't exist, but it didn't stop people from being coaches. And I would go to her and I'd say, Mum, how do you spell something like banana? And rather than just tell me, knowing full well that I would ask the same question the following day, she would say, well, how do you think you spell it? And so I had to think about that. But of course, having thought about it and having got the answer right, it then stuck. I learnt. I didn't have to ask the question again. But we've already started thinking about this. What for those whose learning pattern differs from the majority? Well, this is really where coaching comes in. And let's look at the distribution curve. And many of you will actually have seen the distribution curve before. You will recognize it for what it is. And a teacher, bearing in mind the confines that the teacher has to work in, will be heading for that big sector in the middle. The more people who can understand the message in the shortest possible time get their vote, which is fine. But it means that the people on the edges are the ones that get left out. That is the way of the education system. And that is the difficulty. You can't please all of the people all of the time. And so therefore, there are places where the SEN organization, the Special Educational Needs and Disabilities organizations, need to step in to cater for those people on the edges. And hopefully, perhaps to bring them into the middle. But that takes the specialist knowledge, that takes the specialist requirements. And it's working with these people. And the SENCOs and those who are involved in SEND are tremendous people because they are working that one-to-one. They're working with almost a blank canvas, perhaps. People who think and learn differently. So what makes a great coach? Well, most teachers perhaps want to help others. They get a buzz out of it. They love to help others. They are givers. And they benefit from the enjoyment of noting and sharing their clients' their clients' progress. And that is important. They benefit from noting and enjoying the progress that others are making. And they'll put any judgment aside. I said before, coaches are non-judgmental. And it's not about judging people, because we are all different. So a quick slide of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and you can see that what I'm talking about fits into that middle bracket, into the blue and the cream side of things there. It is feeling that feel-good factor when you acknowledge that actually it's working. And you see it in other people's eyes, and you see it in the students' eyes and the pupils' eyes, and you think, we're getting there. It's magic. I feel really great. And actually, it's fulfilling the need of the coach as well as the need of the client. So what does every pupil need? Well, they need a way of teaching that correlates with the way that they are learning. And this is a message that I'm bringing across again and again and again. They need a way of teaching that correlates with their way of learning. So even a coach, especially with the youngsters, will need to perhaps bring in some experience, bring in the teaching, because there is a method, there is a requirement to move these people forward in a particular way, because that's the way things go. It may be a message of maths that you want to get through. And you can do this, but you've got to be able to do this in the way that the pupil wants to learn. And if you can't get through that, then there must be another way of trying to get there, which is why, as I said, the pupil, the client, becomes the expert. They are the expert. They start to understand how they can learn. And once you can get through to that barrier, and you have broken that barrier down, then that's where you can start interjecting and just bringing in, through coaching, through mentoring, the information that you want them to take in. It's the pupils need the tools and techniques to cope with everyday situations. We all need the tools and techniques to cope with everyday situations. We're all learning all of the time. But they also need a strong set of life skills with which they can make their own. Because they want to make their own way in life. It's frustrating when they can't. They know they want to make their own lives. And to develop those life skills is actually another incredibly important part